It's really unfortunate how trauma can steal our joy away in just a moment, even many years after the trauma occurred. Today has been in many ways a very wonderful day. My friend Sarah and I are spending the weekend at Letchworth Park in New York, and on our drive here today, we stopped at Watkins Glen State Park, which has tons of waterfalls, and it was magnificent. And we rented a cabin at Letchworth, and when we arrived, I immediately started noticing that most of the people in the other cabins were young men. And then I started noticing that they were drinking. And when I was going to the bathroom, an older gentleman commented on how we're probably not going to get much sleep tonight because it sounds like we've got quite a rowdy bunch hanging out around the campgrounds. And here I was, like, just, really enjoying my day. And the traumatized person in me, the part that, struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder and flashbacks, got sent back, as I saw all the men drinking, and it was still early, only like 5 o'clock at night, and I immediately started becoming hypervigilant, like looking around. I started worrying about, I was like, okay, there's hardly no women here. My friend Sarah and I are the only young women alone. Oh my goodness, we're going to be in the bathroom by ourselves. Oh my goodness, we're going to be in the cabin by ourselves. And my mind started going in this direction. And so, like, everywhere I'm looking, I'm thinking about how I'm going to be attacked. And if you're not familiar with my story, I've been sexually violated by 8 different men, and that doesn't even count the time that I was attacked from behind at knife point because I got away from the perpetrator. And so, and a number of the rapes that I've experienced were at parties or by when I wasn't drinking, but the individual had been drinking or under the influence of a drug. And so it's hard for me to feel vulnerable around men who are drinking. I'm very, very sensitive to it, and so it's just, we're here, and as you can hear, there's people driving in. We're at a viewpoint, and I just wanted to stop and reflect on it, because here I was, like, just wowed at Watkins Glen. Like, literally, it was like a mantra I had on replay at the park, was just wow. Every site we looked at was just wow. And then in a moment it was stolen from me. It was like in a moment I was sent back, and it was me being, the scared Stephanie, vulnerable Stephanie, and feeling unsafe. I felt unsafe for so many years in my life, and luckily I was, my dear friend Sarah, I was able to share with her, that I'm scared. I'm only looking around at these men and worrying about am I going to be victimized? Is she going to be victimized? And worrying about how are we going to keep ourselves safe? And so here, we're on a vacation. It's supposed to be relaxing, and I'm looking around everywhere trying to think about how are we going to stay safe. And it's been a little hard. It's I've made a tremendous amount of progress in my healing journey, but there's still these times that things are going to trigger me. And I think that's important for you to know as well. If you're listening to this and you're in a similar boat, I think it's important to know that as we can make more enormous strides forward with our trauma healing journey, and just unexpected things can just send us back. And it's important that we have practices that can prevent us from getting, derailed in those moments. Part of me knows that being hypervigilant as being young women. I mean, we're 40 years old, or I am, we're both almost 40 years old, but we still are young women by ourselves, and in many ways, being a young woman in our society, it's part of what we have to be vigilant in our society around men, and it's unfortunate. But it's also important that we have tools so we don't stay in this scared version, because, if this was years ago and this was happening, I would have been derailed for our whole time here. I wouldn't have been able to focus on anything but, the worries, the concerns over being victimized again. But now I'm more open, I'm more willing to talk about it. So it was a big win for me to be able to share with Sarah that, okay, I'm scared of getting hurt. I'm scared of us being attacked. And, and she was really great. She's like, don't worry, I'm a feisty one. I'm a fighter. So I can kick their ass. I can take care of them, So she's trying to make me feel better. And then she's showing me, okay, the door locks. Oh, and then there's a deadbolt on the door. And then we went for a walk around the campground. And she's like, okay, these men are really close to us, so we don't have to walk really near them. We sort of, whenever we were getting really close to a group, she knew I didn't want to flaunt the fact that there was 2 young women staying by themselves, so we took another path, and so just, I think that's a win, for me to be able to share my struggle, that, okay, I'm triggered, I'm becoming extra vigilant, I'm in hypervigilant mode, and I don't want it to detract from our experience this weekend. And so yeah, these are wins, so I encourage you, if you also find these moments where you get triggered, to remind yourself in that moment, like if it's a safety thing, remind yourself that you're safe in that moment, and there's things that you can do to ensure your continued safety, but then also do what you can so it doesn't continue to steal your joy away in the moment you're experiencing right now. Our traumas have stolen so much from us. They stole so much more than just that time period where the actual trauma was occurring. It's stolen huge swaths of our life since, as I've stated in another recent video, trauma infiltrates every aspect of our life, and it can be really frustrating when here we are immersed in joy, and all of a sudden, like, bam, it's taken away because you're triggered and you're going back, and it's hard, but I want to share that we don't have to stay there. We don't have to stay in that triggered, vulnerable, scared space. We can do things to handle those moments that were triggered, and so we don't stay there long. And I think that's a really important, it's important work to do in the trauma healing journey, is to be able to differentiate between what happened in our past and what's happening right now, and being able to say, okay, that was then and this is now. And so for me, being able to remind myself at the cabin that, okay, I'm safe right now, I'm not being hurt, I'm just remembering past pain, but I'm safe right now, and there's things I can do to make sure that I don't get re-victimized again, and to remind myself that that was then and this is now, and I want to be here now and enjoy this moment right now, because that's all we really have, is just one moment. We're moving from one moment to the next, and if we have the ability to experience joy in this one moment, we need to hold on to it for dear life, because we know sometimes life can be really hard, and we need these moments of joy to hold on to. And so, think of right now, like the sun is shining right now, so I'm holding on to that bit of joy So ask yourself right now, what bit of sunshine can you hold on to right now? Okay? Thanks for listening.